Hi, everyone. We're just going to wait till like 4:05 to see if anybody else hops on and give them a chance. So we'll start in exactly 1 minute. Whew. Unmuting.
Oh. Turn the light on, maybe?
Yeah. Oh.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Welcome to the January Action Group
Webinar.
Couldn't think of the name there. Wow. Happy Friday. We're super excited today. We're going to do a mini training on mental health, and these slides will be available to you if you do want to take it back to your action group, if you want to take it back to your school in any way. They're yours to take and edit as you see fit. And then we're going to talk about a couple of other things afterwards. So, wow, welcome. Why mental health? Well, it's, oh, hi, are you recording me?
Everyone say hi to Instagram.
Say hi. Mental health is so super important. It's a part, everybody has it, you know, it's part of our overall health. And I think at camp and throughout the year, when we talk to different groups, a lot of groups have a mental health focus. And we know, you know, mental health is linked to substance use disorder sometimes. And it really just ties in so nicely with everything that you are already doing. So we thought we'd give you a mini training here. And yeah. Let's jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't even say. I know it's
yeah.
weird if we sit this close together. We're very close when that happens. So you just get to see me. Hi. If you have any questions at all during it, you are all muted right now. So just like pop in the chat somewhere. Oh, somebody already did. Oh, man. Hi, Lisa. Yeah, just pop in the chat if you have any questions or want to add anything. Let me know. I guess I'll put that right there so I can see. Is that the best place to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. So I basically said this. Mental health is super important to learn about. It's common. A lot of times different mental health issues can develop during adolescence, right? Our brains are still changing and still developing. So this can be a vulnerable time where mental health problems might develop, links to substance abuse and use. Also, the sooner an individual gets help, the more likely they are to have a positive outcome. And that's why learning about this and learning different things you can do for your friends, do for yourself are important. And the last reason we learn about this is because there is hope and there is help out there. Maybe we don't know the resources or the tools yet, but hopefully you will know them by the end of this training. Woo. So what is mental health? This is the part where I ask you to type into the chat or unmute yourself for a second and go, oh my goodness, Rachel, slides, and give me your definition of what mental health is. Don't worry, if nobody answers, I will put RTP on the spot and ask him for his definition. So I'll give you a second.
Everybody answer.
I'll give you a second to think about that and either type it in the chat or unmute yourself. How do you define mental health?
And while we wait, we'll just play some Smash Mouth.
It's like a Jeopardy song, but worse.
Yeah. Or better.
Or better.
Yeah. I'm sure that sounds great through the computer microphone. It's on my phone microphone. So.
Give you like 20 more seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Try and come up with a definition here before we put RTP on the spot. All you see is me dancing in this. Okay. Oh, all right. So we've got one answer here. The emotional health and well-being of someone. That's perfect. And I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Disha? Is that right? If that's not right, unmute yourself and yell at me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hear you talking, but my volume's not up all the way. Was that right?
Yeah, that was right.
Awesome. And what group are you from? Because I think maybe we have
South
like
Brunswick.
maybe an action group bonus point for South Brunswick, I know.
Mhm.
And Lisa DeRitter too, the emotional health of everyone. Okay, great. Yeah, I think people define mental health in so many different ways, and health in general. So many different ways that the experts cannot even agree on it. These are some examples of wellness wheels and seeing all the different components of what makes a person well or what contributes to our overall health. Oh, I love Smash Mouth too, in the chat there, very important. So it's a lot of different things. It could be, we see our cultural, environmental, spiritual, emotional, physical, cognitive, our intellectual growth, our physical environment, financial. There's so many different things that contribute to our overall wellness. To break them down some more. So that physical component, how we eat, what we eat, if we're exercising, if we're getting enough sleep. Raise your hand if you don't get enough sleep. Preventative medical care, right? Talking to your doctor. That all contributes to our wellness. Environmental stuff, what's going around, what's, in the global environment or your personal surroundings, right? Is seeing the news every day really upsetting to you? Does that bother you? Or, are you living in a town where there's a lot of trash? I'm sorry for looking at you. RTP works on an environmental grant, so it's important. In your emotional wellness, right? Understanding and dealing with your emotions. And that's both the positive emotions that we feel, but also the ones that are a little harder. I don't like using the word negative, but the ones that are difficult to sit with or work through. It's understanding how to deal and live with both of them because they both exist. And you can see some other examples here, your social network, who can give you guidance, who's there, if you need to talk. Financial wellness, why is that important to our overall wellness? Well, we don't have money to buy a roof over our head or the food that makes our bodies happy or it can add extra stress, right? And then
and worry about financial troubles is also, it brings up anxiety, depression, all those sorts of things as well.
Yeah, and intellectual too is on here. We want to encourage creativity and like making sure we're lifelong learners and learning things. And, we have that like spark, right? Like your soul's on fire, doing something that you're growing with. So a lot of different things can impact our wellness. Here's our working definition of mental health, taking all of that into consideration and knowing there's so many different components. So this is from mentalhealth.gov, and I'm going to move the chat that's in the way of my reading so I can read this right. It says, I have to move this too. I'm such an old person when it comes to technology. I am sorry. So it says mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being, right? We talked about that, right? Okay, it's not just in our heads, it's what's around us, it's how our bodies are affected. It affects how we think, how we feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress and how we relate to others and make choices. So there's a whole lot in these 3 sentences. It's taking the idea that it's not just, mental health isn't just in our heads, right? You can feel depressed and feel aches in your body. It's not just happening in my emotions and my feelings in my body. And it's my social well-being. It's not only how I treat myself, but it's going to affect and relate to how I treat others and make choices. So this is our working definition for the next few slides. So keep this in mind. I really set up this thing because I can't change the slides well. Can you change slides for me? Because I'm an old woman. I'm so old. I'm a grandmother. So basically, important things to know. We all have mental health, right? Whether you are feeling fine, it's the best day, it's Friday, you're so happy, you aced your chemistry test, or you are not feeling great, right? You can't get out of bed, you're upset. Those are both mental health, right? We all have it. And a lot of factors contribute to our mental health state. So that's our day-to-day life. Like I said, if you passed that chemistry test, you remembered your valence electrons. I don't remember them, please don't ask me. Or maybe you didn't pass it and that's making you feel some kind of way too. Our brain chemistry, right? So it's not just what's happening around us, it's, the chemicals inside of our body. Maybe we're not producing enough serotonin, or maybe our body can't process different chemicals that, work to keep us emotionally balanced. Socioeconomic status, your gender, your sexuality, anything that, changes how you look at yourself or how the community at large looks at you will contribute to your mental health state, right? So basically everything is what I'm telling you. Every single thing in your everyday life contributes to your mental health. And another important thing is that it's on a spectrum. Like I said, and you can see at the bottom, it goes from, now I've got the videos here, man. Oh man. The green to the red over there, right? You can be feeling absolutely great, but something could happen and it could swing you in the other direction and you could really be depressed or just feeling down in general, or blue. So there's no one set thing, right? Different things will change how we're feeling. So recognizing that it is on a spectrum. Does that make sense so far? I'm looking for head nods, but it's just, does that make sense on our TV? Yeah. I'm so used to presenting in person. So here's that spectrum again, and I'm not going to go through this in detail fully, but it's just to note, we've got our green, healthy on the left. So that's your everyday, your normal functioning, your normal sleeping patterns. You're comfortable with yourself, comfortable with others. And if something happens to you, it can lead to the reacting stage, which is right next to it. But that's common and reversible distress, right? Raise your hand if you experience stress, right? We've all probably at some point been in this phase. Oh, there's a raise your hand function. I didn't even know that. Cool. Yeah, so this is, you're feeling irritable, nervous. We got a lot of hand raises for that, right? Yeah. Girl, I feel AP exams are like it's not right around the corner, but it feels like it's right around the corner.
I mean, it's not that far. It's like a month and a half away.
I thought it was in May. I don't know. But stress is out there. We got that. So this reacting phase is, that it's normal, right? It's how, if you can handle your stress in a healthy way, right? You have a healthy coping mechanism, you have support, you have somebody to talk to, you can get back to that healthy phase. And that's, this is expected, this is normal. You are all resilient, strong people. So that's possible. But sometimes, things might appear to get worse, or maybe we can't reach the person we usually talk to, or we don't have the whatever we need available we don't, our iPod's dead, we can't listen to music, and that's what usually helps us. But does anybody use iPods anymore? Probably not. I'm old.
I wish. We should bring them back.
We should bring them back.
Yeah.
But that's that reacting phase. So if you don't have the skills to help get you back to healthy, or you don't have resources available, you could go to what this continuum calls injured. So that's, it's significant impairment. So it's really being angry. It's lingering sadness. The key word is lingering there. It's not bouncing back from something as quickly as you normally do. You can read the different things in there. You see a lot the word like significantly or withdrawn. This is, your behavior's changed when you get to this point. It's not just, I'm feeling kind of sad. There's a significant behavioral change that's going on. And from here, if things continue to get harder for the individual, it could lead to a clinical disorder or a persistent functional impairment. And this would be when people have, reached the threshold to be diagnosed with a disorder, or are having suicidal thoughts, constant fatigue. Again, the word constant there. It's not something that's just a passing, couple of hours where I'm feeling upset. So we can see it's kind of going back and forth, and things could change in your life, or you could, run into new situations that could make something worse for you or make something better for you. So it kind of flows back and forth. And this is just, again, important to note because it helps us recognize that we all have mental health. It's not something that's taboo to talk about. It's not something we have to avoid talking about because we all have it. And we've all been in various phases. Maybe you haven't been at one side, but you've been in the middle. And it doesn't matter, right? Because we all still have it, regardless of where you've been on this. So that being said, we're going to talk about just one brief slide about the prevalence rates. So how many people ages 13 to 18 actually live with anxiety, behavioral and mood disorders, and different diagnoses like that. I think this is important to say just because, we know mental health is important, but sometimes it feels like you could be the only one struggling with something, or, why are we doing that here? It's not a problem here. Well, here are the numbers, and this is the science to back you up. So our anxiety disorders, prevalence rate is 31.9% of teens. That's almost a third. It breaks it down in the next column to severe impact. That basically means there's 3 different qualifiers when you're diagnosing somebody with any type of disorder. So it could be mild, so not as intrusive and not as difficult as somebody who has moderate, which is kind of your middle grade, or severe, which is the highest. This is really impairs every facet of my daily life, right? It's really, really, really hard for me. So 8.3% have that severe impact. And anxiety disorders are things like, OCD, generalized anxiety disorder, that stress that we feel all the time, right? Behavior disorders, they're at 19.1%. Again, a pretty large chunk for people ages 13 to 18, and 9.6 with severe impact. Behavior disorders, that's your ADD, ADHD, eating disorders, things that affect our behaviors, things that we are doing, right? Anxiety disorders are a little bit more up in our head. It's how we're thinking. Behavior disorders, you can see somebody, you might not necessarily see them, but there are certain behaviors or things that they're doing or experiencing. Mood disorders, rolling right along, 14.3%, 11.2% for severe impact. And then substance use disorders, so it's anything, alcohol, narcotics, opioids, anything, 11.4%. And you see there's no severe impact there because there are no qualifiers for that. The Diagnostic Statistical Manual says if you have been diagnosed with this, it's all one shade. If you have a problem with this, there's no different levels. So that's why that's like that. So a lot of people, a lot of youth live with mental health issues. So I think we're going to talk more about what we can do and how we can do it. It's important stuff. Any questions at this point? Because I've lost the chat and I've lost the video. How did I do this? Okay. Thank you. You're so good to me.
I like highly aggressive people.
All right. Okay. So, we've talked about our prevalence, what it is, why it's important, but my goodness, why am I so bad at changing slides? What does it look like? So I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because you will have the slides available to you, and I want to make sure we're using our time wisely and that you can really dig deeper. So if you do have questions, let me know afterwards. We're going to go over signs, which are things that can be observed, and symptoms, those are things that are felt internally, so a little bit different. So recognizing these signs and symptoms in yourself or a friend does not mean that there is a mental illness or mental injury. I want you to know that right away. If you do not have a doctor initial or doctor credential, you don't have one at the end of this, right? You can't diagnose somebody, but you can see different signs and reach out to them if you think, they might need some help. But basically you can't diagnose anybody, right? So I'm breaking them down into 3 different categories. We've got our physical, right? So what we're feeling, what's going on with our bodies, emotional, what's going on in your head, and behavior, what are you doing, right? So physical signs, it could be stuff with your heart, it's cardiovascular. I think when people have anxiety, right, your heart sometimes beating really fast, chest pain. It could be gastrointestinal, I mean, your stomach is just like, nah, I can't deal with this stress. Or, I mean, you can read all of that and see what that means, and it could be different for different people. It could be respiratory, so are we having trouble breathing? Are we breathing really fast, having shortness of breath? That might be pretty common if you're having a panic attack, or you know, you have a lot of stress and you're having trouble, like getting worked up. Neurological stuff, so that could be dizziness, headaches, sweating, numbness, tingling, anything. The mental health, like I said, it affects every part of you. It's not just in your head. So again, how you're feeling with that dizziness and all that stuff. Musculoskeletal too, so that's just your aches and pains, shaking, inability to relax. It's important to remember, as I said, that these could be signs related to mental health disorder, but it could be something that's a stomach bug, right? If somebody has gastrointestinal problems and they're sweating and they're aching, that could be the flu, right? But it could also be indicative of a mental health disorder. So just a hey, how you doing, and checking in with a friend definitely makes a big difference. Hope everybody got their flu shots this year, speaking of. What to note in the physical signs and symptoms, though, you want to look for a pattern adjustment. If you notice that something has really shifted, that's when you want to take note and reach out to the person, or reach out to, you know, your action group advisor or your school counselor. And I'm talking about things kind of swinging in a different direction. So if somebody is overeating or not eating at all, or sleeping all of the time, or sleeping none of the time, right? That's a big shift from your normal behavior. So that's important to note when you're talking about these physical signs and symptoms. Our emotional signs and symptoms. A lot of this y'all probably know, because it's kind of our textbook behaviors, right? Having a depressed mood or mood swings. Depression and all of these other disorders we talk about can kind of present in different ways. I think we all have that stereotypical picture of depression, right? Somebody's just like, they're sad, they're sleeping all the time, don't have the energy to shower or do daily tasks. And that can be depression for a lot of people. But depression can also look like me screaming at my friends, me quitting the sport that I love, me, you know, trying to pick a fight with everybody. And all of this happens kind of for the same reason, right? If I'm staying in my room 24/7 and, you know, I'm sleeping all the time, I'm isolating. I'm being isolated. I'm isolating myself. But it's the same thing. If I'm screaming and pushing all my friends away and picking fights with everybody and stopping what I love doing, that's isolating again, right? So it can kind of present differently. But you see, it's big changes in like how you're acting. So other things, excessive anxiety or guilt, anger there, lack of inhibition, lack of emotional response, helplessness, hopelessness, oversensitivity to comments, low self-esteem, right? These are kind of things that we know to look for, that we learn in different health classes and stuff like that. Like I said, things manifest differently for everybody though. More emotional things are thoughts. It could be, you know, somebody's really criticizing themselves all of the time, putting themselves down, pessimistic, difficulty making decisions. I know it's a weird one to put on here because I have difficulty making decisions all the time. You should see me every time it comes, you know, time for lunch. I can't pick. But it's that severe, like, it's crippling, right? Like, I can't make a decision. I don't want to make the wrong one. Difficulty concentrating, remembering, racing thoughts, delusions, suspiciousness, thoughts of death and suicide. Again, a lot of different things on here. I know we're going through them pretty quickly, but mental health is a big thing, and, you know, we don't have a lot of time in this webinar, so I want to get through as much as possible. So our behavioral stuff, what might you see them actually doing? Because it's it's easier to see a behavior than it is to try and guess what's going on in somebody's head, right? So maybe they're crying a lot, withdrawing from others. They aren't managing their responsibilities. They're forgetting, they're not doing their homework anymore. They're forgetting things that were important to them. They forgot to go to rehearsal 3 times. Disinterested in personal appearance, right? Lack of hygiene, loss of motivation, using alcohol or drugs, energy level changes, compulsive behaviors or things that, you just have to do, like have to textbook definitions of turning the lights on and off, making sure, oh no, did I leave the oven on? It's like the stereotypical one, right? But that can be a lot of different things. Avoidance or phobic behaviors. Do I not want to go out in public anymore? I just want to stay in my room. And then non-suicidal self-interest behavior. And that's kind of the clinical fancy way to talk about things such as cutting or burning or harming yourself in a way that isn't a suicidal behavior, but it definitely is harmful to the self, right? Like that is important no matter what. Individuals who self-injure might do that for different reasons, but regardless of whatever reason they're doing it, it's to be taken seriously, right? How many times do you hear like, oh, they're just doing that for attention, right? People say that sometimes, and you know what I say to that? Yeah, they are. So let's make sure we reach out to them and get them help and talk to them, because regardless of why anybody is doing that, we can't put a reason to. They know what's going on in their head, but it's serious, and we should be there and know the resources. Yep. Again, this is just a recap. So mental health, every part of our life, we're looking for big shifts. That's how someone who might be struggling. It comes down to your spidey sense, right? If your spidey sense is tingling, if you feel it in your gut that something is up with this person, let's reach out. So I'm going to go through these pretty quickly because, like I said, you can look at these slides. There's different coping mechanisms we can use to try and manage our stress if we're in that first phase of, being stressed out where it's not pervasive, it's not super serious. So, there's exercise, yoga, meditating. I love giving myself a pep talk personally. Journaling, playing with a pet, anything. But there's also these unhealthy behaviors, which is what we want to guide people away from. Smoking, binge drinking, drug use, isolating yourself. You can see a lot of things that are clearly unhealthy for yourself and aren't really helpful to getting back to being mentally well. Using alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs as a coping mechanism is destructive. It's bad for yourself, and it might feel like that's the thing I need to do in this moment, right? I need to be at this party so I can be around friends and I'll feel better. And then you start drinking at this party with all these friends around, right? But addiction and mental health disorders co-occur a lot. They go together. According to NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness, between 1/3 and 1/2 of individuals with mental health disorders also struggle with addiction or vice versa. That's 9.2 million US adults experienced both mental illness and a substance use disorder in 2018. So we really want to guide people towards healthy coping mechanisms and healthy ways to deal with their stress and whatever's going on in their life. So we don't have time to go through this, but self-care is very important, taking time for yourself. If you went to camp, you can see the ILAC boosters and the ILAC shield right there. That's something you can refer back to, ways to pep yourself up if you need just a little pick-me-up, right? And again, that might be helpful for some people, but we know professional help is also out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's also, your school resources, again, professionals as well, or even talking to your friends. Sometimes you do need to talk to somebody, and that's okay. This is a slide about my self-care. I love my cats. Aren't they adorable? They're just the cutest in the world. I won't subject you to 28 million pictures like I do to Ryan every single day.
But I love them. It's okay.
They're your sons.
They are.
So that's what I do. I love to play with my cats, and I take a minute for myself, or I look at memes, classic, right? In the 2 minutes that I have left, I'm going to go over some resources. And I'm speeding through. I got a lot of things that I want to tell you, So when that self-care isn't doing the trick, or you know, this problem or this issue I'm facing is a little bit beyond my scope and how much I can handle. We've got to know our resources, right? In your school, you might have a SAC in your school. You definitely have a guidance counselor somewhere, and you most definitely have teachers in that school. I really hope. So any adult in your school that you can go to that you trust, your action group advisor, right? Your school nurse. People don't think about going to your school nurse, but you know, they receive mental health training too. And if you're having these physical symptoms that can go along with mental health, they might be able to help you, you know, address that and figure out how we can get ourselves a plan to feeling better. You know, who knows? Maybe a principal, maybe you got a relationship with him. I don't know who you talk to in your school, but there's a lot of people there who are invested in you and want to see you succeed and want to see you be healthy and well. In your community, of course, your family, your friends, if you have a religious leader, your doctors again, coalitions, health organizations such as LMTI. If you need something, we are always here. You can email us, you can DM us, you can, don't tweet us. We don't check that enough. So if something's up, don't tweet us. But yeah, there's different coalitions that are always there that can help you out with resources, and different community leaders as well. Like I said, if you feel like you don't have anybody on this list, if you don't have a teacher you trust in your school, you don't have that network of friends, know that you can always email me or Ryan or DM us, and we can get you, right? He's popping in for that. And we can get you connected to someone who can help you. There's online resources too, if that's a better fit for you. Have some bolded on the side there. Grab yourself a screenshot, please, for the National Alliance on Mental Illness and Suicide Prevention Lifeline. They are clutch. They're 24/7. There is a talk line if you want to talk to somebody. There's also a texting line if that's more comfortable for you. Yeah, so there's like a million resources. I think when you Google like the word like self-harm or suicide or things like that on Google, it automatically, the first thing that pops up for you are these phone numbers. So know that if you can't connect with somebody in person, if you don't want to DM us because we're old, I don't know, there's other online resources too. And this is just a few, there's so many. Yeah, so those are the resources. You know that you have them, you know that you have us, and you guys are kind of leaders in your, not kind of, you are leaders in your community. And if you ever, come into a situation where a friend is talking to you and you're not sure what to do, here's a couple tips. Listening is key, right? Sometimes people just want somebody to listen. They don't want advice. They don't want you to tell them what to do. Just be there to listen and not judgmentally, right? Don't roll your eyes at what they're saying, right? Just be there and be genuine. I also think I really like offering to explore options together for help, because it can be intimidating to kind of go and get help on your own. I like to say, I'm not going to tell on you, but I'd love to tell with you. I'd love to get help with you. Offer to go to that counselor with them or go to the nurse with them, whoever it is. And then checking up with them later to let them know, hey, I'm still here for you. I still care about you. And I'm, you're my bud. You're my dude. My bro. My cat uncle. Yeah. You're very important to me. But yeah, just a few tips right there for supporting peers. Be positive and remind them there is hope. You are all resilient, right? And you adapt well in the face of adversity. When young people are encountered with situations, that are hard, y'all are like Kobe, right? You bounce right back. You thrive. I don't know why I said Kobe, but it's so true though, right? That's what resiliency is. Resiliency is that rubber band, that bouncy ball that it hits rock bottom and it bounces right back up. And that's you guys, it might feel really hard, but know that even on your worst day, there's a better day in the future. And that's what this is all about. That's what getting the resources is. And I promise I won't say Kobe again. But yeah, that's about all that I have for this. I'm going to give you a second if you do have any questions. I know I covered literally so much and so fast. So if you do have any questions, type them in now or mute yourself and ask them, because we're going to jump on to the second part of this. Yeah, RTP will send out, you do send out the video, so you'll send out the slides with it, and I'll send out a resource sheet as well that outline, I won't send it out, you'll send it out, a resource sheet that has different mental health resources. So if there's no questions, I will tell you one more thing before I pass it to Ryan. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So it feels like it's a while away, but it's also like ever approaching, right? In my old age, this time passes so quickly. So we are working with the Bergen County Youth Task Force to come up with some mental health campaigns. And once we develop them, we are going to be posting them onto the prevention portal or emailing them out so that you can use them for Mental Health Awareness Month. They should be done, I want to say, the end of March, but it might even be early April. It might push a little into April. But we're making a poster campaign, and we're making little, I don't know if you can see this because I don't know how to look at the camera. How do I look at the camera, Mr. Palmer? Thank you. Okay, so yeah, they're just little business cards, and one side will have, I realize it's backwards for you all, I'm so sorry. It'll have, the line for the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and we'll make it editable, right, so they can plug in their own stuff. And then the back side is just, hey, take a break for yourself, whether it's a breathing exercise or a sensory exercise where you notice things in the room around you. So these, and along with a poster campaign, will be available end of March, if not early April, for Mental Health Awareness Month. Okay, I don't think there's any questions. I didn't see any, so it's my cat again. Yeah, if you have questions after this and they just come to your head, email me, DM us, don't tweet us, MySpace me, TikTok me. I know no other social medias, so I'll pass it to you.
Got it. All right. Hello, everyone. So we have some other LMTI updates and other fun stuff just to go over real quick, since we have you as a captive audience. So obviously, if you haven't seen on our social media, YAC applications are up.
Yay!
And so you can find all the info about YAC applications at pipnj.org/YAC2020. PIPNJ is Partners in Prevention's website. That's our parent agency, so we have everything posted on there while our website is currently down, but we're working on it. It'll be up soon.
A lot of tech, HTML,
Yeah, a lot of
SSL.
just like a lot of like people at computer screens typing like this, and I don't know what they're doing. Those applications are due February 9th.
That's so soon.
I know, it's so soon. So if you haven't started, you got to go.
Yes.
And just some helpful tips, right? In your application, just be yourself.
Oh my God, yes.
Right, in your interview, just be yourself. We're not looking for a specific type of leader. There's no cookie cutter. We just want authentic leaders. Yeah. Just be you, and that's all we're looking for. Yeah. In your written applications, just do a little proofreading.
We love some punctuation.
Yeah.
A little punctuation.
I mean, it's led to some really funny typos, but we'd love no typos. So just proofread it, make sure everything is all good before you submit it, and obviously getting everything in on time is very important. A leadership quality we do look for is time management and responsibility. So get everything in on time, and we're ready to see you for your interviews.
Yeah.
Also, 2020 camp applications are coming soon.
Yay!
So we just have our camp dates up there to remind you. So week 1 is going to be August 24th to 28th. Week 2 is August 31st to September 4th.
What week are you going to?
I haven't decided yet.
Oh.
But I haven't decided yet. But Action Groups, you should decide as soon as possible.
Yes.
And please, if you haven't already reached out to the LMTI staff, please let us know what week you're planning on going to, because we know there's like a weird thing this year with week 2, and
it's like late because Labor Day's late.
Because Labor Day's late this year, so like week 2 is late. So some schools might be in school already, so they have to go to week 1 where they went to week 2. It's a whole thing, but just let us know as soon as you know, and that'll be really helpful. Action group reporting. Don't forget to submit what your action groups are working on to me, RGP. That's my email. You can email me all the stuff. Our website's down, so the form's not working. So
Email.
Yeah. So just email it to me, or DM us.
Carrier pigeon.
I do accept carrier pigeon. I don't accept carrier snail though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
My insurance doesn't take it. And our camp post test, I think we've sent out the link a few times. It's available on all of our social media. If you check our link tree, there's a link for 2019 participants only.
So no yaks.
No yaks, no cats, no advisors, just participants. We're trying to see which action group will have the most, biggest percentage of people complete it. So we'll be reaching out to advisors soon, hopefully with like how many
Numbers.
people from your action group have actually submitted. But we'd like for everyone, as many people as possible to submit. So you can go to that link. It's a link.tree.com/LMTI. It's a weird thing, but it works. And thank you all for
Oh
watching.
my God, yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what action group everybody is from for action group points?
Yeah, I've got
You
everyone's
got it
names
all?
right now.
Oh, you're great.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
so great. Isn't he great, everybody?
I gotcha.
I almost asked for a round of applause. It just doesn't work on webinars.
Yeah, it does.
I'll give you a round.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And if we have no questions. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a great
Oh my
weekend.
gosh, yes.
Yeah. What are you doing this weekend?
I am going to the Cowtown Rodeo in Salem County, New Jersey this weekend.
If any of
It'll
you
be
are
great.
in South Jersey, you got to go to Cowtown. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. That's our plug for Cowtown. Good night. Oh boy,
you're
here's the
welcome.
fun part of our webinar where I don't know how to end it.
Oh wait, I'm thinking stop shares the screen. This is the best. Let me get my head in here so I'm in the last
Oh, there
video.
you go. Okay, bye.